Deck the halls with mince pies. Fa la 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 la.
La, la, la.
What else? What's the second verse? Deck
Bell,
the halls again with
all the boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly.
fa la 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 la
Dawn we
la la.
are in peril. Fa la 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 la
Was
la
that
la.
Days in Peril?
No, dawn we now are gay apparel.
Oh, I've never heard that line before.
Yeah, I'm sure
No,
you have because
you're not
it's
making
literally
it
the
up.
very line. And the last one is Troll the Ancient Yuletide Carol. And I remember this because we used to
Wow.
have to sing that song in a Christmas show I was in. And I always used to remember it because it was Dawn the gay troll.
Is he a Christmas character? Don the Great
No, but
Troll?
it's like Dawn we now are gay apparel, Troll the Ancient Yuletide Carol. So just using those, I would have that image of Dawn the gay troll to remember the lines of those the words from those lines to prompt me to remember them.
I
Get it right.
apologize on behalf of all you gay trolls
So
listening for
no, I mean, there's
for
nothing. I'm not saying anything derogatory about Don the Gay Troll. It was just I'm
I don't
using
know.
Don the Gay Troll's name reminded me how to sing the song. Right. So
I'm not. I don't remember Don the Troll, as I'll refer to him, coming out. So I think you might have outdid him.
I might, yeah, that's
Yeah,
possible. I did.
yeah.
Yeah,
So you should be
but
careful.
Don deserved it. So
He is an asshole, isn't he? He's a
yeah,
troll.
he's a
So yeah,
troll after all.
yeah.
Right. So
He's always on that internet causing trouble.
sure.
So anyway, as you can tell,
Yeah.
it's Christmas time. Um, we're recording this in November in true Christmas.
It's Christmas Day today.
Yes. Well, no, this will be out before Christmas Day anyway. So
Yeah, I think you got about maybe one more year, and then you can actually like be like a real
yeah, that's
like
true.
department
That's
store
true.
Santa.
Yeah, if they keep making those Sony videos, I will.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you could have a future as Santas. Did you get any call for like Santa jobs?
I don't like doing Santa jobs.
No.
I'll do them. I don't mind doing like a Santa thing but I don't want to do the department store Santa thing. Even though the one time I did do it, it was actually kind of fun, but that's because we went to people's houses and
Oh,
kids were actually genuinely fucking excited to see Santa. It was kind of cool. But
yeah,
most of them are in the store and you walk around and you have to hand out some products, so I don't want to do that.
yeah.
How about you?
I mean, I used to play Santa in a kids show. It
Right.
was a very kind of different kind of Santa. It was like a English kids show where I traveled all over the country, just kind of singing and dancing, and there were puppets and stuff. And I was like a dancing Santa. So it was like it's already like crazy hot under the beard and with the big like the pillow and the stuffing and all stuff. And then I'd basically have to dance and exercise as
Hmm.
Santa as well. So it was yeah, it was um quite sweaty. But I actually kind of liked playing Santa, although I'm not really like I don't obviously make for a good Santa. I'm short and I'm not that heavy and I don't have any facial hair, so it's my voice is quite high. I don't have the ho 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 the low ho ho. So I made for a kind of a non-traditional Santa, I think, right? So
I
I'm
think a
like
clean shaven
I'm
man
like
is better
Santa
though.
free cookies.
Clean shaven man is better though because you're invariably have no one has a Santa beard, right? So putting a fake beard on a
Well,
real
I'm saying if you once your beer goes great, that would pass, right?
yeah, but there's not many people, so you probably have to put because they expect the big cotton candy kind of thing, and that's more
No,
difficult to
but
put beard on a
but
beard.
as they said in part three of the movies we're doing today, is that it's if you don't have a real beard, you're not a real Santa.
Ah, yeah, you reminded me we have to talk about these fucking films. Right. Yes.
Right.
So
So
what
actually,
better way?
I've heard that actually, if you have a real beard, you actually get paid more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Something to think about for
yeah,
all you beardos out there at
there you go.
Christmas. It's your
Beard in the
last
beard cave.
chance. By the time this comes out, you might be able to land a last minute job. I don't know. Um, Anyway, glad to have been of service to you. And yes, what better way to celebrate Christmas by talking about two films that have nothing to do with Christmas and then a
That's right.
third Christmas one.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, this is my fault. I grinched myself, if that's a thing. So
I to be honest, I'm very curious to find out like Yeah, I don't know. Because you text me and you're like, God damn it, like this is so shit. It's making me angry. But
Yeah,
like the shit that you watch and the shit that you make me watch and the shit that you actually claim to enjoy, I can't understand why this would be the one to make you angry. So
I think
I'm
compared to
actually
this,
very curious today to find out what it is you have to say about this movie, like why it is it made you so angry, or why it is
well, I don't know if
that
I
it's so much worse than, say, for example, The Demon Lover, like that, like so much worse than other shit that
Well, I
would
don't
make.
know if I can articulate it really, but we'll give it a go. And I'm interested to see if obviously you got on with them a bit better than I did. So we're talking, of course, about the Terrifier series, right? Which seem to be making waves, very popular. The third one just dropped this year. Um, and yeah, I was kind of slightly curious about seeing these films, but I kind of had to force my because I had a sense I wouldn't really get on with them, although I didn't think I would despise them quite as much as I did. But
Mm.
I thought, well, the third one's a Christmas one. Let's do it for the Christmas show. Ron seems to be up for it. Let's watch Terrifier 1, 2, and then culminating in Terrifier 3, which is a Christmas film, so it's kind of a legit Christmas show.
Sure.
And it was an excuse. Okay, I'll watch the Terrifier film. So, Terrifier, the first one, is actually back in 2016, right?
Mm.
And I couldn't quite get my head around. So there's a big gap between this and the second one, which came
Mm.
out 2022, right? So
Right.
I was wondering if something had happened in the interim. Like, I get the feeling that the first one was made as a standalone,
Mm.
and then somewhere along the lines they got the idea of doing a sequel. So, but I don't know if there was like a specific, like if it kind of blew up in the way that some things do, right?
From
And
what I know,
mm,
again, I haven't really researched this, but from my my limited perspective, what I understood was that this, of course, was based on a short, as many independent
yes,
movies are these days. That the person who makes it, the writer director, in this case, Damien Leone,
hmm,
um, has like an idea or an image, and then makes a short, and then kind of shops that around, and then gets some funding based on the short, and then makes a longer period and picture. And so this one, of course, was the result of that. And I think it was still done on pretty like a much a shoestring budget, quite independently. And then as far as I know, I think they started to shop it around, and I think it blew up as far as I could tell. But I think he still didn't get a lot of funding, and the second one I think was still done mostly his own fundraising. I think through like
okay,
I think it had to do with like fan fundraising. I think
right.
it caught on, became quite a like a popular thing, and then fans helped him fundraise for the
I
second one.
see. So it
And
was
so I think it
actually,
was probably it had to take that time to kind of catch on, word of mouth, and then do the fundraising for the
oh,
second one.
okay. So you think there was a period of, because I wasn't sure if it was like a hit immediately, but then it took them 6 years to make a second one, or if
Yeah,
it was like one of those things, it was a slow burn and then it
I'm not sure what the timeline was, but I know that when it came out, I heard about it almost immediately. And I don't
okay,
even hear about new movies that often. But like I heard people were posting about it like
right.
almost
Well,
quite.
that's
But
weird.
I don't know. I don't know in the timeline if that was a year later after it had already come
Right,
out, or if it
right.
was right away. So
Because oddly enough, I don't remember here. And again, like you, I kind of, I try and keep on top of things, but things get past me. But I don't
sure.
remember hearing about, but I remember hearing about the second one, and
Okay.
then almost immediately the third one came out. Right,
Mm.
so that's why it took a while, and people really, really seem to dig these films. And I thought, and I genuinely went into this like, even though I suspected I wouldn't like it, I deliberately went in open-minded. I was like, no, no, I would like, because that was the thing. I heard about it, and from the discussions, I could tell this is not the kind of thing that I like. But
What is it about it that you knew that you thought you wouldn't get on with? I'm curious.
I don't know, you just hear people review, like there's that kind of, you know, people who saw it would refer to it in this way of like, oh, yeah, it's not, it's not a new, but the go is sort of, this kind of thing. And it would always be, there'd never be anything, I'd never hear anything else about why it was good. It was always just about the kills. Like people would just
Oh.
talk about the kills. And at this point,
But how is that different than any other slasher movie?
because other slash or other horror movies come out and people will say, oh, it's scary, for example, or it's really well done, or it has a twist or something. But I never heard anything about Terrifier other than the kills were super gory. Like that was the only thing. So it seemed like a gore set piece thing. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, that's unlikely to do it for me. The only films that work in that respect are things like I like the Final Destination films because they're playful, right? They're like they set up this, but they're all those films are kind of fun. They're not masterpieces, but they're not scary, but they're fun.
Right.
They're fun.
Yeah.
And Terrifier to me, people would, like you just get to know the tone of things, right? So people would claim it's fun, but I can tell, yeah, what you're calling fun is my idea of not fun. I can just kind of tell.
But like, what about like other movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Friday the 13th?
Yeah, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a totally different. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like a masterpiece of terror, right? And like,
but what is it about it that makes that scary? That
well, if I could tell you that, that's the secret to the secret sauce, isn't it? That's like
right.
I'd make it myself and be rich and famous, right? But it has a brooding air and the atmosphere, and it's paced well. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like everything about like something like that is it's tooled, right? It's like a filmmaker at. I mean, even Toby Hooper never lived up to Texas Chainsaw Massacre again. And even in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'd forgotten until I was rewatching it a few years ago. There are some things in Texas Chainsaw Massacre that it's not quite the sleek, clean machine of terror that you remember it being, because it's got all this stuff with the character of the brother in the wheelchair, like blowing raspberries, and like it's got a lot of very broad, dodgy comedy in it that people forget about.
So maybe Chainsaw Massacre was a bad example. What about like Friday the 13th or
But I don't like the Friday the 13th movie, as
okay,
you
well,
know.
there you go.
Yeah.
So you don't like slasher movies, is what you're saying?
No, I do. There's plenty of slasher movies I like,
Okay.
but they tend not to be the Friday the 13th or the Terrifiers or
What's a good slasher movie, you would say?
The Burning is a good one. I like that.
Burning. Okay.
Rituals, a Canadian one. Just Before Dawn. There's plenty of good slasher films, I think. Yeah. So anyway, 2016, Damien Leone, like you said, started life as a short, and then he put out a feature called All Hallows Eve in 2013, which was Terrifier and another one of his shorts put together as like an anthology film. And yes, David Howard Thornton, right, is plays Art the Clown.
Right.
A kind of Harlequin looking clown.
He's more like, I think he's sort of based on a mime, I think more.
Yeah, that could be right. That's another.
Apparently, it was sort of based on Marceau a little bit loosely.
Right. I mean, it's a very like it's a shit character. Like it's very like it's so bland as a like it's not even a Freddy or something like that. It's just yeah. I don't care for Art the Clown in the first place. Like
okay, well let's explore that. Why not? Like, what is it that makes him a shit character?
He just seems like he's the opposite of something like say Pennywise in It or something. I'm not a huge fan of the new It films either, or the one I saw, but at least that it's not just a scary clown, if you see what I mean. Like he has, a certain wit about him, and he has certain like a charisma or something, right? This guy's just a skinny bloke dressed as a clown, and he's not scary. You don't think, oh, and he doesn't do anything. All his and like it's like you're just copying. There's not one iota of original to what he does. I don't think. That's the thing. Just one thing. Just do one thing that all the other clowns.
Who do you think it's derivative of?
Well, that's the thing. It's derivative of just loads of other clown. You can't even put a name to them, right? You've seen a clown in the film. It's not even necessarily the main character, but you just see these series of clowns. There's other Joe Gacy being a clown. There's all these things, and there's nothing like. I don't get Art the Clown doesn't stand out to me as like a character to build a franchise on, and yet that does seem to be the case. We have Terrifier 4 coming. That's been announced, that's for sure.
Right.
There's no way on fucking earth I'm watching that. Unless, and again, unless I hear, oh, they've rewritten, it could be, it's entirely possible Terrifier 4 is a game changer and it's totally different. But so, yeah, and the thing is, I'm already, like, basically, is there anything more? I mean, when we get the second one, there's something more going on a little bit. But is it basically just he's a killer clown, and then some girls on Halloween night get kind of stranded, and he kills them and some other characters in and around an old building, right? I'm not missing
Yeah.
any major.
There is, I mean, you were talking about there being a twist. There is a kind of a twist at the end where you find out that the whole movie is a flashback.
Oh yeah, I suppose, yeah. I mean, they do set it up, but yeah, you don't realize it's a flashback necessarily.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like at the very beginning, you see kind of his feet and him and them saying, and then the saying like, "Oh, Art the Clown, this is a survivor of Art the Clown," and it's she's on like a talk show, and then you see that she's like really disfigured, and you don't know what her name is yet, and then she kind of attacks the host of the talk show, and then it jumps to these girls, and you think it's sort of like the story's continuing, but it turns out that actually that the girl who is disfigured is actually from this story, that the whole thing is a flashback before this, right? So that was a bit of a like a kind of a yeah, so it's like a
And then when the disfigured girl
a-
goes nuts as well, I mean, the only thing that separates her from Art the Clown is she speaks, right? Art the Clown never
Right.
speaks. But Art the Clown, that woman, and she turns up later in the sequels, and the little clown girl, like, they're all doing the same thing. That's the other thing that annoys me, is they're all doing the same thing. They're all doing pretty much the same. Like, there's like no flavor to it or something. It's like an off-the-shelf. Ah, here you go. It's cosplay horror, right? It's not proper horror. Anyway, yeah, kills. And the thing is, when I started watching this, I thought, oh, thank fuck, it's only 84 minutes, because I knew in advance, I'd heard that the sequels were really long, and I was really.
Yeah, the second one is, we'll get the second one in a second.
So I thought, oh, 84 minutes. Oh, this will be all right. Holy fuck, do they drag this out? I mean, it's just interminable. And the thing is, in between, there's nothing. Like, again, it's not bad. And I will say, Damien Leone knows how to do his effects, because he's an effects guy. So that stuff, it's well done. Don't get me wrong. But it's just like someone just flesh fucking, like, there's no set piece. There's no like, oh, scary. It's just at the count, gets and fucking, and then him going, hey, and repeat, like, to the end of the film, with these long bits in between with boring characters saying boring dialogue, doing boring things, and that fucking annoying woman with the doll thing, and I read a piece of IMDb trivia. It made me almost want to throw my computer out the room. She said, oh, when she was doing that performance, it was so moving that David Howard Thornton started to cry. And I thought, fuck you, no, you fucking didn't, you fucking lying piece of shit. Anyway, sorry. Like I said, this film made me angry because it's just, I don't get, like, I don't understand why people are watching this film and enjoying it. Like, it's literally, I don't understand.
So let me just ask you then. So your anger, it seems to be coming from the fact that you don't think it's deserving of its praise.
Well, number one, it's just a boring So it would
If
be
you
like,
just saw this movie, kind of, you found it on a shelf and you'd
yeah,
never even heard of it, and you put it in, and
it
let's
would
just say
still annoy me. It
a
would still
DVD.
annoy me, certainly.
To this point, to this degree, do you think?
No, that's probably exacerbated by the fact that people like, because I don't it's like I've been dropped off on a different planet where people have different ideas of what horror is or something. It's like, what's wrong? Like, I I feel as if I'm looking at something totally different than
Okay,
them.
so let me ask you. Let's reflect. Let's
Okay,
dive in. Why do you think people like it?
that I genuinely can't get my well. Your problem. Okay, well, first off, then what?
No, no, no. Before me, I want to
Well, no,
know
no, no,
what
because
you think. I want you to think about it. I want you
I
to
think this
put yourself
only
in other people's shoes. Why do you think they might like it?
I couldn't tell you. I
Well,
mean,
there must be a reason. I mean, you must
there
be able
must
to
be,
guess.
yeah, but that's
You
what
must
I'm
be able to
saying.
guess.
You're no, because the only way I could think is if you've never seen a horror film before, maybe. If you've never seen a film before, it's things moving, that's quite exciting. If it was like back in the day, train entering station, people ran out the theater and pissed themselves. So I can see that, but I'd be very surprised if the fandom of Terrifier is people who've suddenly come out of a cave and have never seen a film. No, honestly, I can't, because there's so much of this shit out that I can't pin. I don't know. Why do they just like the gore? But the gore is like, it's it's not inventive. It doesn't have a wit. It's not like, it's disgusting, but it's not that, like, at this point, uh, you've seen so much gore. Maybe it's someone who've never seen gore before. That could be it. It could be younger people who grew up somewhat sheltered or something. Their parents didn't let them watch horror films, and then the first time they go and they see this, I can see that. I can see maybe it might be people who didn't grow up on gore seeing gore for the first time. That's the only thing I can think might.
Okay, but let's take it also in the context of how it was made, right? Damien Leone, it was obviously independent,
Yeah, yeah.
done,
No, no.
did all by
Well, good.
himself,
Yeah. Very
independent
admirable.
movies,
Very
in
admirable.
the vein of, pretty much you name it, all of our septic shock, road trip
Yeah,
movies, so that, so, and you have generally goodwill towards those types of movies.
absolutely. Yes.
So why not this one?
Because
In
the
terms of
end result is soulless. Like, I see no, um I don't know, it's like someone's made a film, like it's almost like it's an AI film.
Hmm.
Like there's nothing in it that I connect to on any level at all. Like none of the characters or none of the humor, and it's just so, like, I don't understand why people. Oh, there, Art the Clown enters room. Okay, he's gonna do. They're gonna, and then he's gonna, just destroy this person in a really, really gory way. And there's no suspense about it. You just know it's gonna happen, and then it happens. And actually, indicative of this, there's a scene in the first film I remember where, when the chick's cut in half with a hacksaw, right? And then they do this big thing about another character coming in and seeing it, and it's like a reveal, and it's like a boom shock thing setup.
Right.
But the thing is, we've already seen it. We've already seen her cut down the middle.
Hmm.
We know she's in that room.
Hmm.
So there's a whole build up to what you're going to see. And they pull it off like, look what you've seen. But you're like, well, we know. So I don't understand. That's not. Well, why are you doing this? What on earth? What were you thinking? And what annoys me more is that apparently it works. And I'm thinking, do these people not pay attention in films? Are they on their phones or something? Or like, why? It's so lazy. It's so lazy, and it's unimaginative. and it's being rewarded by people thinking that it's really well done, and I don't understand it. And so clearly you didn't dislike it as much as I did, right?
Yeah, not
But
nearly.
did
Like
you?
I'm more fascinated by the the poison, the venomous nature towards this movie, considering all of the shit that you've made me watch over the years and all of the stuff that made me angry. I'm so surprised that this has had this much of an effect on you. Because
I,
yeah, I
I
thought
mean,
it was yeah,
the difference
yeah,
between, for me, right? The difference between
yeah,
some of those films, I'm guessing I can imagine some of the things you're talking about, but in aggregate, right? But
yeah.
but the difference for me, mainly, I think, is um that those films, well, obviously for me they were more interesting. Why, I can't really tell you that, but also those films, I can feel that someone's made it, right? I can feel like a human presence. I can feel like this just it was made by a fucking robot, or like I yeah, I think that's what it is. There's no fingerprints on it, right? It feels like I'm massively. I appreciate what he, like. Well done. Anyone who gets any movie, even if it's just the most simple setup in the world, someone has to do it, right? If it's just a film of a tomato on a table, someone has to come and set the tomato on the table and set. Every film doesn't, you don't imagine it into existence. So any film that gets made good, I'm, very impressed, appreciative, well done. But that's base level for every film ever, right? So that doesn't get it off the hook just because um it's an so yeah, I think it's just that there's a lack of the soul to it. That's the only word I can think of it. It's so soul-suckingly banal. Um, did you enjoy the first Terrifier film, Ron? Sorry, I'm getting
Soul
tired of my own venom now.
Soul-suckingly banal. Okay. So yeah, this was actually my third time to see it because as I told you, I watched it
Oh,
after I'd heard kind of the uh what you call it, um praise or the
right.
and the sort of the buzz about it. And
Yeah.
then I watched it once, and then my son wanted to watch it, and so I reluctantly allowed him to watch it with me. So even though I was like, I don't know. And then
Did he
well,
enjoy it?
I huh?
Did he enjoy
Yeah,
it?
he was okay. I mean, he's 12, so I mean,
Right.
so but and then so
But
then
did he
I was
say
gonna skip it this
anything?
time because I figured I pretty knew it well, right? But I
Okay.
thought I might as well just watch it, so I just
But
watched it again.
did he say anything? Like, did he say something to you like, "Oh, that film had great kills, Dad," or "I was scared," or was there any
He
kind of?
didn't really say much of anyway, but
Okay.
I mean, but interestingly, my wife and my daughter have not seen it, obviously, and
Why,
but
obviously?
well, sorry, not obviously. Well, my daughter obviously because she's younger, but
Oh, okay. Okay.
my wife had not. But interestingly, they know about this movie,
Yeah,
and
it's
they
quite
know,
a. It's got
yeah,
a.
and
Yeah.
they know that it was that it's they're relatively inappropriate for him to be watching it, right?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so and yes, and certainly that's on me, but and I did warn him that it wasn't appropriate, and I kind of set him up for some of the scenes, and I kind of gave him,
Did it
but
did it freak him out at all, or?
not noticeably, no, not
Okay.
really. So yeah,
Okay.
so and he wanted to watch two, so we watched two together as well. That was when two came out. So he wanted to watch the both of them together. So and so yeah, now my wife and my daughter's like, you haven't watched that movie because everybody, of course, she hasn't seen it. So
Mm.
but it just sort of already has this sort of reputation, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just I certainly didn't come anywhere near the venom that you have for this movie. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was soulless. I thought uh it was an interesting homage to these types of movies, and it was sort of a throwback to 70s, 80s slasher films. I thought it had an interesting take on, as I told about the twist at the end. It kind of surprised me with the twist, and as well it had the I thought it had an interesting sort of dark humor to it, which kind of ramps up as the three movies go on. I think the third one was actually quite funny at points. And I think it, I think it makes it sort of stand apart of just regular slasher films, which don't have a sense of humor to themselves. And I mean, if you're, to be honest, I'm really interested as to why you hated this so much, because it just certainly didn't come in. I mean, I can name any number of movies that made me feel really angry to watch them, but this wasn't even close to it. Like, I thought they did a pretty good job of it, considering they had very little budget, and and considering they were doing it all on their own. I mean, as an independent movie, it's like, and I think I'm good on them for, him for, being successful and having good. I thought it was. I think Art the Clown is kind of an interesting character. I thought it was, a take off of other characters, but done a little bit differently. I can't think of another horror character that's like this. I mean, I don't know who you think of, but I mean, it has elements of other things. It's kind of Pennywise and Freddy Krueger kind of mixed together with, like, but like, with, and the whole silent nature kind of is a little bit Michael Myers or Jason a little bit, I guess, right? So I think it's sort of like a pastiche of a lot of these kind of ideas, kind of all put together in a kind of a different way. And I don't know, I kind of enjoyed it. I was okay watching it. I don't think it was. I never got any of that what you were talking about. Like, I never even occurred to me that, I mean, I can see why people might not like it, and people might think it's like it's too gory or it's too gross. But I mean, even like the point you were talking about, like the cutting her in half, and then the reveal is her. So what? Like, I mean, I think the reveal was more about her reaction to recognizing her friend was there,
No, I understand that, but it's not.
rather than the
It's,
revealing that
yeah,
the surprising death, right? So,
but
but
it's not like it's just going like every.
yeah, I mean, that's the one thing, is that I'm glad I didn't watch any of these on my iPad this time,
Oh, right, okay,
because,
headphones.
like, basically the whole thing is just screaming, basically, right? So,
Or,
uh,
or boring kind of let's rip off 80s synth sound things.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and again, yes, it's kind of you could say ripped off, you could say an homage to, right? So, I mean, it's,
No, no, it is homage. You're quite right, but
yeah,
there's good homage and there's bad homage. And to your point as well, the thing about I think you might have, like, he's a little bit of this, he's a little bit of that, and so that's the thing that can go either way, I suppose. Is you can take this from there and you can take this from there, and then if it's done well, it's something kind of new that comes out of it, right? But then, of course, the other way it can go, which is for me how it goes, it's the paintbrush in the water gumbo
gimmick,
thing, where
right?
it's just
Yeah,
bleh. So for me,
but
it's there.
yeah, but when I saw it for the first time, I mean, I've obviously haven't seen as many movies as you have, but when I saw it the first time, I thought it was quite creepy. I thought it was an interesting choice.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I really did. I thought it was I thought it was it was elements of other things that are also considered creepy to horror movie fans generally, but that I thought it was done in a new way. So I thought it was okay. I don't love the movie. I don't think it's like the second coming of, I don't think it's the greatest movie ever made, certainly, but I certainly wouldn't have said it was a bad movie, right? I would say that it was, yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling almost like embarrassed that you hate it so much, so that you're like judging me now, right? But I just didn't, I don't get your
I
venom
know
for it.
there's clearly a lot of
Yeah,
people who think like
yeah,
you do. And again, for me, I think the other thing that I find slightly infuriating, and again, it's just a matter of I don't understand, because it's like people's memories have been wiped or something. I understand younger people, or maybe people who haven't seen that many horror films or something like that. I kind of get them going for it. And this isn't just this series as well. This is a problem I have with modern horror fandom in general, actually, is there's a lot of critics out there as well who are my age or older, and I know they've seen all this stuff as
yeah.
well. Right? And I don't know if it's necessary in order to be a professional critic to like consistently like wipe your brain clean or something, so it doesn't just seem like you're going insane. But there's a lot of stuff nowadays in modern horror fandom, especially, I find, because horror people are very nice, very forgiving people, right, in general, where like there's a big buzz about something, And then I see it and I'm like, "Well, I don't understand. I understand younger people, but critics my age or older are losing their shit." And I'm like, what, have they forgotten all those other films that they saw, that this is just rehashing? Or that kind of confounds me to the point where I kind of get kind of annoyed because I don't
So
understand.
anyway, two more points is that one thing I also appreciated about this movie and all three of the movies is that it uses practical effects, which you don't really see a lot of these days. And I appreciate that it's gone and almost done like a renaissance or like a throwback to kind of practical effects, and I'm hoping it almost spawns a comeback for practical effects because
I mean,
I,
yes, I would rather see practical effects than digital, but
mm,
it's funny you mentioned that. There was something about the effects. There was an uniformity to the gore that
mm,
I was always thinking like, oh, how have they done that? They've made practical effects almost as bland as digital,
mm,
because it's just it, it like it conceptually, I suppose some of the kills are disgusting, but
right.
they I don't know, they felt very clean to me. They felt very like, I don't know, it's like it's almost too well done or
Uh,
something. Do you know what I mean? It was
Not
just
really, but
it's just like like an autopsy gone wrong or something like that,
uh,
right?
yeah,
Rather than, because Go is only as good as the setups, right? Like none of the
right.
setups to the Go scenes here are good, right? They're very just meat and potatoes. It's just and just and like, didn't you feel as if, for instance, Brain Dead is a great example of something
Mhm.
where the gore is there, but at the same time, it's got kinetic action and it's interestingly staged and it's inventive and it's humorous. Like, this is almost, you can't compare the gore in this to Brain Dead, for example, right?
Mhm.
Whereas, and that's a very different film because it's almost like, that's not really scary either. That's like a custard pie fight with blood and guts,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's fun. It's not fun. Well, I don't think it's fun, but neither is it like, like you watch something else, like some other film, for example, can do something really simple, like someone just pulling out fingernails with pliers or something, right? Like a very simple thing. But if it's orchestrated well, you're watching it going, oh, right? But
Mm,
this has got like people kind of bludgeoned to bits with bits of
mm,
machinery, and not once do you feel or or painful, because it just looks like someone smashing a bag of meat with a baseball
mm.
bat.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that's fair enough. I mean, yeah, I agree that there is over the three movies, there definitely was a uniformity to some of the kills. There was a little bit of like a, yeah, you agree. It was like a lot of like, you know, I mean, they change up his weapon from kill to kill,
Yeah, yeah,
and so at the very least you're trying to make it different. But yeah, there was less subtle nuance to the setup to the kill and more just sort of like
right.
brain and guts. Yeah.
Do you remember the scene in Pulp Fiction where Bruce Willis, just after he's escaped from the guy in the gimp, and then he's going back for revenge, and he goes behind the counter to look for weapons, and he picks up one weapon at a time, and they're all clearly references to films, right? So he picks
Mm,
up baseball bat and you're thinking, oh, Walking Tall, and then he picks up the chainsaw and you're thinking Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think he picks up finally a samurai sword or something, right? Like that
right.
that little section, which in itself is almost too on the nose to me in terms of like,
Mm,
it's it's Tarantino to his most referential, right?
right.
But
Right.
but even that, just how long is that? 15, 20 seconds or something. That just alluding to was more entertaining than all of the gore scenes with the different weapons.
Mm,
And it's over in 20 seconds. Just as a kind of comparison, like that film doesn't even show Oh, there we go, carried away. There we go, cut off. But yeah, just to, that doesn't even show the kills, but that is more just alluding to these other things seems to be
Mhm.
more fun than anything in any of these.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can see why people might not really like it or think it's sort of I mean, yes, there definitely were elements that were cliched and that were kind of run to death, and there was a I mean, they're certainly not perfect movies. I wouldn't say that they're all fantastic movies, but I just don't have the venom, right? I mean, they were enjoyable watches for me, like enough to keep my attention, right? So that I can say that. So
So genuinely enjoyable and not boring.
yeah, I didn't think it was that. I didn't. Well, this one wasn't boring. Uh, the
Yeah.
second one is another story, however. But
So here we go then. 2022 Terrifier 2, 139 minutes
yeah,
long.
yeah, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Um,
this was him. Like, I read one review which kind of summed it up. It was like he was basically. I thought I was watching a Peter Jackson movie. Like it was like like it's like he obviously got all this money. Oh, woohoo! I'm gonna make another one, and then had no one there to tell him, no, 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 don't do that. Or
Unfortunately,
no,
not a Peter
no.
Jackson Gore film because he can make those better.
Well, not yeah, yeah, more like a Lord of the Rings film.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, no, yeah. So I suppose this one is it's you can feel that this one's trying something a bit different, and maybe the original was a standalone because they try and set up some lore in this film, right? So it's pretty much change over to some new characters. Lauren Lavira plays the kind of main girl, and they're definitely going for a um um what's it, Laurie Strode Halloween thing, I think,
Mm.
right? Like especially the later Halloween films had the character, what was the actress's name? Danielle something, right? And it becomes a
Oh
recurring,
yeah,
and
the
kind of
girl.
became like a recurring subplot in the series
Right.
almost organically, right? But here it feels like they've decided to do that. So because the third film is almost a direct sequel to the second one, right? And we're introduced to
Well, the second one was a direct sequel to the first one. They picks up exactly where the first one
yeah, but
left
it
off.
feels like a fix-up, doesn't it? It feels like no, they weren't planning that necessarily, and they kind of
Wait, okay. One question: did
uh
you watch the post credits in the first movie?
yes, I did, yeah, because I knew they were there.
Okay, so how can you say it wasn't it was a fix up
Because
then?
it didn't seem to make any like that scene by itself. In the first one, was it the one? What was the one in the first one? Was it the one with the giving birth to the head? Or is
Yeah.
it yeah. So that like the, as far as I can, because the thing is, we don't know because we don't know what the big reveal at the end of it is yet, right? They keep slowly, so we don't know. But to me, that dream sequence or whatever it was, actually, it wasn't a dream sequence, but that scene didn't seem to make any. Um, I don't think it has any connection to anything else in any of the films, right?
Well, yeah, it does. It was the beginning of the second one.
No,
It
no, no,
was where
but she gives birth to Art the Clown's head.
yeah. And then in the second one, the dead body without the head stands up and kills the police officer, puts the police officer's head on his head when he's on the train, and then shows up at the hospital, and then basically gets that's where
Oh,
he
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Yes, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, so I suppose in that way, yes, they did kind of add a thing to connect it.
And the body shows up at the
Yeah,
hospital,
but what
picking
I
up the same orderly characters that
yeah,
are
but what I
there,
mean is
kills
that's
them,
more
and
of
then puts
a
it on, and then continue.
they've added these things so it makes a linear sense. You're quite right. But what I mean is that it's the second one's starting over with new protagonists, right? And then
There's a new
third
protagonist. Yes,
one
correct.
and the third one, it's the same protagonist, is what I mean. It
Yes,
kind of
yeah,
carries
okay.
on, yes. So
But I think I read one quote from Damien Leone that said I'm not sure why this was, but he said he was super excited for people to meet the Sienna character because it was like his favorite character he'd ever made, and he was really, really excited. I don't think the character Sienna is that
oh, no,
interesting or great.
exactly, that's what I
I'm
mean.
not sure what the buildup was supposed to be, but I think the idea that he had my idea or I could be totally wrong, is that Damien Leone, I think, saw this as a series originally, and then had the idea of this character that he wanted to make a Sienna, but couldn't put her in the first one because he knew that no one was going to make it through.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
or he thought of it for the second film, and
Or
then
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and was
But
like,
it
well,
sounded from the quote that he had the character all along, but couldn't put her in the first one because
but
of the setup.
this is my point. This is you starting to little bit. In this instance, I think you're seeing the same, like you said, like hearing someone say, "This is amazing character," right? And then you see the character, and you're like,
Well, yeah.
"That's
I mean,
how I
as I
feel in
said, I
general
don't think
about
any of
them."
these movies are fantastic, but I
No,
mean, I
but
don't
I'm
think
just
they're
saying
terrible
you're.
movies. So
It's slightly through the looking glass for you there as well. It's like a matter of why does he think this like
yeah,
you don't get that either, right? In
sure,
the
yeah.
same way as I don't.
Well,
It broad.
I do get. I mean, I can as you know, how do I put this? As a writer, I can see how writers get really attached to their own characters, right? And I know that writers, even if it's just sort of like a regular, last final girl, or trying to make her a little different because of blah blah blah, whatever backstory you've given her, I think that he thinks he had really created this really layered, interesting character based on as being a writer, and I think he
Right.
was just had a lot of sort of connection to character because I know that having written a little bit in my past, that I know that when you write something, you have a really strong connection with your character, and you really, it's almost like they say when you edit your stories, you kill your babies, right? So
Right.
you're same idea. So I think that maybe he had dreamt up this character, thought it was a little bit quite original, and was really excited about it.
Yeah.
Um,
But
so
but a good
it's not.
artist knows, yeah, that
Wait a minute. So I'm just saying
yeah.
that's where I think
Yeah, no,
things
no,
go.
but a good artist knows that yes, it identifies a good character, knows it's good, right? Damien
Right.
Leone unfortunately isn't, so he's just got this bland, boring kind of character like a million other people, and he thinks it's great. I don't know why. So we should mention as well that we don't know yet so there's seeds, right? There's clues. There's like a father character who created
Right.
this, and there's a sword that seems to be, or a knife
Yeah.
seems to have some magic powers, and clearly she's the nemesis of Art the Clown and all the other Gribblies, right? That's being set up bit by
Yeah.
bit. So
Which is
yeah,
why I think that it's been set up that he kind of had the idea all along because
yes, or
in
at
the
least
first
from
movie,
this one, yeah, yeah,
well, even in the first movie, or um, yeah, maybe I guess from this one, yeah, I guess because there's for example, in this one they reference the dad character, but you never see him. But this whole kind
right,
of idea, but then you see him in the third one. But so I get the impression that
yeah.
he's got like a larger picture in mind, at least. That's
Yeah,
what I say.
yeah. I wonder sometimes if that scene at the end of the first one was something just kind of done for its own sake, and then
Mm,
they kind of figured a way to retroactively tie it
sure, yeah.
in, kind of thing.
But I
I mean,
mean,
it
like
doesn't really matter, but
I mean, yeah, I mean, the only reason I would think that is because the first one, with the exception of that scene, was mostly unsupernatural,
exactly, yeah, yeah,
right? It was just scary guy, or creepy guy in a clown suit, whatever, right? But then they added this one scene, which made me think that at the very least he had some inkling or some idea of where he wanted to take it, had if the movie caught on, which is why,
right, right.
so that's
So the second one is pretty much the same as the first one, except longer, and yeah, there's more gore again, right?
mm.
Um, and like we said, there's the introduction of, yeah, there's going to be some kind of fantasy bullshit element.
Yeah. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with the gore. I thought the gore, some of it was kind of fun to watch. I mean, you might not like it, but I thought it was, the bedroom scene and stuff like that. I think it was just fun. I think they were fun to watch. It was, the practical effects. I enjoyed doing it. But when it brought in this sort of like magic sword and this sort of like, when it started to get into the supernatural elements, it sort of started that part starts to lose me a little
Yeah,
bit,
it's
right?
not
I
it's
don't
not
really
even
need,
as good as Rock and Roll Nightmare, because that's what I was
yeah,
thinking of immediately. I thought, oh, if only fucking John Mickle Thor would turn up, that would
yeah.
But it's interesting you say about
Yeah, I don't know.
the
Like the magic
fun.
store, I was like, I don't want, I don't, yeah. I kind of liked it better when it was just you didn't really know who this guy was or why he was doing the shit, and that there was, maybe there was a supernatural element, but maybe not. But then when they sort of like, yes, they're supernatural, he's like a demon, blah blah blah. Then it's sort of like, it's that starts to lose me a little bit,
That's
right?
interesting, see,
Yeah.
because even though I still don't like that stuff because I don't think Damien Leone is a good filmmaker, I have to admit I find the introduction of that slightly more interesting. Like,
Oh.
if it was in a better filmmaker's hands, I would be, because it's suddenly gone from a generic slasher, it's jumped into something else, right? It's got this
But
hybrid.
now it's
So
it's
that's
he's
different.
trying
That's
he's
different.
trying to make up his own world building, his own lore, or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That kind of thing, which
yeah.
is sort of like, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
what I'm saying is, it would be good if it wasn't him doing it. If it was someone else, it would be interesting, right? And
Okay.
it's interesting you say that about the gore being fun, because the one switch I thought with this one, and again, not so much that because because it bothered me, but the gore was much more mean spirited in this one. I thought.
Yeah. They're very mean. It's all mean spirited, and it's all. I mean, you're kind of just watching it all. I mean, maybe as you said, you're not like, ouch, it hurts, whatever. But most of it, you're watching kind of like
It
it
goes
is
out of its way to be
disgusting.
a
It's
bit
meant to be
nasty,
disgusting, right?
especially in this one and the third one. There's a lot of like loved ones seeing their uh,
Yeah.
like and I thought
Well, the first one
that's
too. I mean, that
yeah, but that's
friend.
like I thought I don't know that's the thing. That's the thing I don't get again is this horror gumbo thing. Like, if you're going to make it disturbing, like, make it disturbing, right? But this is not. It's supposed to be fun, but that extra kind of seeing your loved ones turn into fucking, pate is like, that's not. It's not edge. It's
Oh,
just like, oh, that's just nasty. Like, like, but again, not so nasty that it's notable either. And that's what I mean. I don't think Damien Leone knows what he's doing. Like, he knows how to make gore effects really, really well. He's seen some horror films. He knows how to put together A, B, C. He's probably read some bullshit book on the art of screenwriting or some crap like that. But he has no soul. He doesn't like have a story to tell, I don't think. That's my problem, I suppose, is Dave.
yeah.
I don't know maybe he's a lovely guy. Don't get me wrong. I might go out for a drink with him and he'd be my new best friend and he'd be awesome. But he shouldn't be making films, or he should make some other films or something. He might get better. I don't know. Anything more on two before we jump on very quickly to the third one because we're
Well, I think
obligated because it's Christmas.
the main problem with this one was, as I was saying, is just the ending. It kept going. I mean, it was at least 30 minutes too long, if not
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
It just like, yeah, it was like it would end, and then he'd jump up, and then he'd still be alive, and then they'd do a whole other thing, and then he'd die again, and then he'd jump up and he'd be dead again, and
yeah,
then I was
yeah,
like, okay, just bring
yeah.
it to it. Like I was like, I was, yeah, what he needed was he was given a little bit too much free reign with this one. I think he needed an editor to tell
Yes.
him like, no, don't do that. Take off that 20 minutes right there. You don't need
Right.
it. Right.
Right.
So because yeah, even I who went in it with generally goodwill, by the end was kind of like, okay, come on, let's just get to the end. All right. Yeah. It wore out his welcome a little bit too much on this one, right? So um but yeah, I mean, I think it had um I think, what I think about this movie, and this comes out even more so, I think, in part three, which I think a lot of it, a lot of the scenes and the images and the ideas and the kills, for example, are all come from um I would say it's almost like a horror fan's wish list.
Yeah, it's like I said,
I
it's
mean,
horror cosplay is what it is.
well, that's what I mean. Yeah, but it's like a person who loves horror movies, and I like horror movies, but I've never seen this before. So he would put it in his film. You know what I mean? Like I've seen this and I've seen similar like this, but I've never seen this particular idea before. And he's putting it. So that's why I think that's kind of where maybe I think probably the issue here for you is that you've seen so much that it all seems so derivative to you. But I think the average viewer has seen less than you, but enough to make it still seem fresh. Does that make sense?
No, I take that on board. I can see
Yeah,
there's certainly an element. I'm definitely a jaded viewer. Don't get me wrong. That's certainly
sure.
true.
Yeah.
But sometimes, let's say sometimes you're watching a film, or it doesn't have to be a film, or you're reading a book, and it's in a genre you're not familiar with, right? Let's
Right.
say you haven't read all the other books and you haven't seen all the other films, right? And I've had this experience myself. Let's say I'm watching, I don't know, a musical or something, right? Like La La Land would be a good example, right? Like, even though I've seen some of them, but even though I haven't seen all those other musicals that inform La La Land, I can intuitively tell that La La Land has all this stuff behind it, right?
Right.
And I know that, like I know, and then you research it and you find out about things like Umbrellas of Shemba, etc., like that. But even if you didn't know, you can sense it. There's an intuitive part of you that feels this is in a lineage, right?
Mm.
But it's still pretty good, if you see what I mean. So
Right.
what I'm surprised with the Terrifier films is I would suspect that even novice viewers would intuitively sense that this is rehashed garbage, even if you haven't seen that stuff. And I'm
But
surprised that they don't.
maybe they do, but or at least they know it's rehashed. But the thing is that that's the thing with this sort of genre, especially slasher, the subgenre, is that there's only so much you can do with it, right? There's certain frameworks that you can go inside of, and I think that the fact that the genre is still popular means that people are happy watching similar things over and over again. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
but
you know,
what I mean
so
is you can do the same thing again and again, but but you would see someone, even just something really simple, like someone just stabs someone in the stomach or something. Like you can film someone stabbing someone else in the stomach, and it can totally devastate you if it's done well and if it has a good story and the perform
right.
like. So it's not just doing something. I don't have a problem with that. They've been doing that for decades, right? But the thing is, you have to bring something. You have to bring something. Um, you have to bring a flavor. You have to bring something of your own to it. And I don't see Damien Leone doing that. I think it feels like I said it does to me. I don't understand. It's like something made by robots, and people's response to it feels like robot response. It doesn't feel like I. I understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not denying. Obviously, I don't think
Yeah,
those people are lying. I don't think they're lying that they like it. They clearly
yeah,
do like it.
yeah.
But how they could possibly enjoy it is just like I said, I can't. And you've explained it to me. You've articulated yourself very well,
Yeah.
as almost like an ambassador for the other side argument a little bit, even though you don't think they're brilliant either. But um, but I don't think
I
I'll
mean,
ever.
let me give you
Yeah.
one example from part two, which is he's just killed the daughter in the bedroom, and then mom has come in,
Mm,
and she's and the daughter's still alive, which was
yes.
I mean that's sort of that part is where I was going with a little bit of like the dark humor, because I mean obviously that girl would not still be alive, right? I mean, like there's no way that she'd still be alive, but
No.
or even still conscious, right? But even if she was alive, she wouldn't be or able to speak, whatever. But that was a little bit of the dark humor I thought that they brought into it, right? And then mom screams, and then the next scene you have like trick or treaters come to the door, and comes out, and he's got this head of the
Yes.
mother with the
Yes.
candy, and the kids are all like, "Ooh, mine's gooey," right? Stuff like that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
kind of thing. Now, that in itself, I've never seen that exact thing done in a movie before,
Right. That specific
right?
variation
That
of it. Yes.
specific thing. But
Yeah.
it seems like something that should have been in a movie at some point through the years, right? And probably is somewhere, although I couldn't tell you if it ever
Yeah.
has or where it is,
But
But I think that's what I'm kind of talking about, is that I think he had this idea of like, well, here's an idea that has never really been done exactly in this way.
no, I think
So
you're
I'm going
right
to
there.
try to do it in this. I'm going to
Yes.
try to
Yeah.
incorporate
Yeah.
that this time, right?
You're quite right. I think he has an imagination in that way. I think maybe what he might be lacking is um, a sense of like appropriateness or something like that. And I don't mean it in like, oh, that's too much, but it's like when the daughter wakes up, because that scene was pretty horrible, and she's scalped, and then he turns up again and puts the gasoline, so it escalates, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's really, really horrible. But then when you have the mother come in and see her, it's like it's adding like a slightly nasty layer to it, which is like sour taste, and then the kids thing with it, like it's actually got it's like, I don't know, it's like it's like he hasn't. It's like like sometimes you might be having a conversation and the you getting to a bit of razzing of each other, right? And oh, you fucking yeah, you something like that. And there's always one person who totally misses the
Takes it too
tone
far.
and goes
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, you fucking cunt," and shh, and then there's like tumbleweeds or like that kind of thing. I feel as if Damien Leone has that kind of element in his filmmaking. Like I don't think he kind of knows when to do things, and but again, it's not enough. Like if it was like really like it would be a fascinating art. It would be like, why does Ed Wood make his films kind of thing. You'd be kind of fascinated by it. But he's got just enough sense. He's not a total maniac. So it's not fascinating. It's just a bit boring, and you don't understand that, do you? It's like, so yeah, he's not interesting on any level, I think. Um, so Terrifier 3 set at Christmas. It's crap too. The end. I don't know. Anything you want to say? Oh, sorry. One thing I did like about Terrifier 3, Clint Howard turns up.
Clint Howard and Tom Savini.
Yes, I mean Tom Savini's in everything, but Clint Howard, you don't necessarily see him. It was nice to see him, and he's funny. He's actually funny. Like you just look at Clint Howard, and he's funny. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
The bits of Clint, I was it Daniel Roebuck as well. I think was the other guy, right? And the Santa. I think that
I'm
was
not sure. I didn't
yeah.
recognize him. So
Um, but yeah, I mean, do you have anything to say about
well, I
Dave?
think this one was even the best example of what I was just talking about with the the wish fulfillment, which is that I mean, you think of back on all the Christmas horror movies, Black Christmas, and we've
Hmm.
done several of them on the show before, but there's
Yeah,
certain
we run out
ideas.
of them. That's why we're doing
Yeah, we're running out of them. That's why we got it. But there's certain images or ideas that you think should have been done in a Christmas horror movie, but haven't, right? Some and I think that's exactly what this movie was that him thinking of all those, like, doing a snow angel in a pool of blood. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
and nailing the guy up on the wall like Jesus, right? And putting his
Right.
head on the tree like a Christmas a Christmas star, like those images. I mean, say what you like about them. They're sort of things you would think would have been in a Christmas horror movie, but I can't think of a single one that they've been in. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but there's also an element of that that feels a little bit like horror leftovers. Like, there's a few crumbs left that haven't quite been. So
Really, I don't know. I was more like the idea of like is like, oh, why was that? Why have we've never seen that before? I was more like that was a kind of an interesting idea. Like, of course you'd make a snow angel and you do it in blood. I mean, how come no one's ever thought of that before,
well, I
right?
mean,
It was kind
I'm
of
pretty
inventive,
sure
I
I
thought.
couldn't tell you the film, but I'm pretty sure I have seen a Snow Angel in Blood.
Probably, but I've never seen it.
Right.
But it was new enough for me that it seemed sort of relatively innovative. So,
Right.
that's that, I was thinking like, well, why wouldn't I have thought of that? Why wouldn't that's I think it's good for him for thinking of that, and maybe the whole story again is still a little bit too long, and he could use a little bit of an editor, and the whole like pit to hell thing at the end. I didn't need any of that shit, whatever. I thought some of the ideas I thought they were kind of interesting. I thought, and I thought they were, it was sort of like filling, I, a, uh, what do I say? It was sort of fulfilling a wish that I didn't know I had. Do you know what
Mm.
I mean? Like it was sort of like, seeing all of these Christmas horror movies, and oh, of course, I wanted to see someone's head as the star of a top of a tree. I never even thought about that, but yes, that's exactly what I wanted. When I, you know, for example, you know, that those, you know, oh, of course, I wanted to see him cut Santa's real beard off and then use it for himself, and then put a snowman nose on the, you know, that stuff. I never even thought about it, but yeah, of course, that should be in a Christmas horror movie somewhere. So I thought good for him for putting it in there, right? So yeah, I don't know. I have generally, I actually like this one the best. I think of the three. I
Oh
thought
yeah.
it had the most kind of inventive ideas. I thought, you know, I mean, the other two definitely had, you know, were had, you know, homages or, you know, cliches if you want to call them. But this one I thought had some pretty interesting, unique ideas that took the established or already you know, set things and then, you know, expanded on them. So I, you know, I thought it was okay. You know, I don't
The
know.
only scene I thought was a little bit interesting in terms of, oh, okay, that's kind of transgressive in the right way, and it is a little bit surprising, was when he blew up the department so full of children.
Yeah,
I
sure.
thought
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
all right. I thought that was all right. I'll give it that.
Yeah, and
There's
like,
also a scene in this film which actually is kind of indicative of the whole thing for me. I was watching it, I thought, oh yeah, that's my problem. I think it could just be a me versus the modern world kind of thing as well. But there's a scene where a guy gets on the subway dressed as like a clown,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
sees like, and he goes, "Oh guys, you killed it, you totally killed it, can I get a photo?" Like, and I was thinking, ah yeah, that's what people do, right? That's like that's what they do now. They go out and they get, and then they go on and they see other people, they, "Yeah, they're gonna get a photo." And I was, I'm like, oh yeah, and yeah, no, that's, I don't like that, like, but
You don't like
that's
people taking pictures of other people? What? I don't understand.
no,
What do you
just the
say?
whole tour, like like the whole neurosis. I don't want to do the blood, but I didn't think I could. I was worried about cleaning it up, but you guys kill it. I was thinking, I don't know. It's just like, yeah. Again, I can't. It's grumpy old man time at that point. It's just, yeah, no, that's why I don't go to Shibuya at Halloween, and like, I just, yeah, no, this is not, like I said, Halloween cosplay, right? So. Uh, horror cosplay. Horror cosplay, not Halloween. This is a cosplaying horror film. It's not a horror film. It's a cosplaying horror film. Which is, what some people may enjoy this kind of
Right.
thing. But
I'm
I'd
not, yeah,
rather
I'm not sure
watch a
this is my
horror
type.
film. I'd rather watch a
That,
horror. I'd
mm,
rather watch a horror film.
mm. Well, I mean, I didn't particularly, but I'm sure there are people who have seen fewer horror movies than you, which is probably most people in the world, and still think this is funny. You know, I think the character of Art has elements that, you know, that people would find scary. You know what I mean? Like the
Well,
whole, you
I
know,
don't know, scary, but people are enjoying it clearly. Because
yeah,
this is, like you said, this has made an imprint, right? People
yeah.
know of the Terrifier. I also don't like the title. Um,
Yeah, I think the title is pretty bad. I don't know where that came from. I think that was sort of like a it probably came from somewhere else and they got stuck with it. I got the impression, but yeah, the title's not that good. So, but
yeah. But
um
yeah, I mean, there's no changing. But no, but it is kind of I mean, I, sometimes it's interesting to talk about these things because I assumed um everyone would be as annoyed as I was, but but clearly my level of annoyance is obviously very
well,
befuddling to
I
you.
hope your estimation of me hasn't dropped just because
No, 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 no,
you
no,
know,
no, no.
that's
It's not that
good
because
you
like I
usually
said,
have very little respect for
you
me,
weren't
you know?
lying. You articulated what you. So yeah, yeah, fair enough. I mean, there's no denying your response is as valid as mine, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Mine was just a bit more loud and sputtery and
Yeah.
enraged. And why
Yeah.
that might be, yeah, I'm gonna have to clean my
Yeah.
computer screen after this
Yeah.
particular outburst.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's up to everyone to make their own opinion of it, you know. So I mean,
Obviously,
as with everything, right? So I mean, I just say I'm watching it in the context of all the other shit that you've maybe watched, and compared to that shit, it was pretty good actually. So all of them. So they're movies that I would prefer to watch to, for example, Demon Lover,
why,
right?
oh,
So
why do I tolerate you year after year on? It's a mystery. But we shall
right,
continue. In the
sure.
meantime, have yourself a merry little Christmas, I
Ho
guess.
ho ho.
Yep.